I'm back with another video, hoping to encourage you, empower you, and give you inspiration related to fasting. I want you to stick around. Got a couple more tips I think you're going to enjoy. This is Intensified Life TV with Dr. Lakeisha V. So I've done a few videos about fasting already, and I hope that you'll go back and review those. This one is a little bit more practical, and specifically I wanted to address what happens when you want to make fasting a part of your lifestyle rather than just an occasional here or there or 2 or 3 year kind of event, and what you might want to consider including in your fast and the effects of a fast. So first of all, let me just say that to make fasting a part of your life, like a lifestyle, a routine, a habit, not something out of ritual because it's just a part of a calendar year, but because there's meaning and because you always want to be centered in disciplining your flesh so that you can be closer to God. Well, I want to suggest, first of all, we always think about fasting as giving up food, and that's correct. But have you also considered that fasting should include adding something to your life? We add more time in the Word, check. We add more time in prayer, check. But you also might want to consider adding more spiritual material for you to consume. So you're not consuming food more. You're abstaining from food altogether, or like in a Daniel fast, certain particular types of food. But what about adding to your life? In addition to the Bible study and meditation, in addition to more prayer, more worship songs and music, but also some more spiritual books. Fasting is a great time to get a book list, choose a topic. If you're fasting about a financial breakthrough, great time to read spiritual, biblically based material about God's resources in the kingdom and how to be a good manager of your resources. If you're fasting and there is a particular, say, a health crisis in your life, maybe it's a great time to read good material from solid Christian authors who've talked about healing, fasting, and reading material about just disciplining your life. And I want to include 3 suggestions for you. Great books that have been like staples of my life and those that I refer anyone to read. The first is by Richard Foster. It is a classic called Celebration of Discipline. It is a wonderful, full examination of all types of spiritual disciplines, and many you probably don't even consider a discipline, but it's great reading at any time of the year, but especially while you're fasting, to help you round out the fast. Because sometimes we get stuck, right? We think about reading the Bible, we think about praying, but there are so many other ways that we can draw closer to God and discipline ourselves for spiritual purposes. The second book is by Gary Thomas. Sacred Pathways is one I found. It was actually in my personal library for a few years before I read it, but it opened up so many ways for me to understand how God uniquely created me and how there are so many different pathways that people use to connect with God. Think about those of you who love nature and why it's so important for you to sit outside when you read or pray or go for a walk. Think about people who love art and music and they're more expressive and vibrant, and worship with colors and dancing and flags and banners really attracts them and makes them feel close to God. There's so many ways, and that's just one book that can help you discover your way and appreciate how in the time of your fast you can expand your capacity to experience God by trying new things. The third book, selfless plug. It's The Intensified Life. And I encourage you to consider it because it is a devotional that will help you to dig deeply into some areas of life that maybe you need to talk to the Lord about. It's an interactive devotional, but it's also something to challenge us to live life bold and free, on the edge in faith as we have adventures with God. You really have a fellowship, an intimacy, a relationship with God. It's going to be vibrant and take you into places and spaces you probably never imagined. It's anything but boring. It's intensified. So remember, fasting, yes, it is abstaining from food, but maybe you add things to your spiritual diet that will help you. In addition to reading good material, remember to journal. Write down what God says. Write down what you receive from these books. Anything that God says is worth recording, whether you put it in a special place on your computer or your phone, or you have a journal that you write in every day. I'll actually do another video about journaling because of my personal journey in that experience. But just know that fasting as a lifestyle should include some way that you keep a record of your time of growth and intimacy with God. The other thing I wanted to share with you is that after you fast, of course, you're going to go back to life that is a little kind of normal, maybe. Back to what it was before you were doing your fast. Whether that fast was 1 day, 3 days, 21 days, 40 days. There's something about your life that will return to what it was prior to your fast. And primarily, first and foremost, that is about your diet. Well, I want to encourage you not to go backwards. Keep moving forward. Now, of course, you will continue to eat, but think about how your body has had some rest, usually from processing so many things that weren't that healthy for us before. Consider that a time to reset and allow God to give you a new diet so that you can be a better steward and manager of the only body you have to do the Lord's work in. So when you finish your fast, don't jump right into the donuts. Don't go back to full strength coffee. Consider that God may be allowing you through the fast to really detox your body and to give you a healthy new start. You might also experience after fasting, and this could seem a little weird, but I personally experienced it, and it's true. You have a sense that you're missing some of that closeness with the Lord. There is a closeness with God that can be experienced while you're fasting. And sometimes after you break the fast, people report missing something. And that something is just that closeness with God. I always tell those who have been on missions trips with me that you have an experience that others will not know about. So don't be upset when you go back home. And well, maybe not everybody is excited to hear about all of the great things that God did on the mission field. Maybe you even have some sense of discomfort and you kind of wrestle with feeling like, I don't want to do this routine anymore. I long to be back in the mission field. It's very common for that to happen. So just know when you're fasting and praying and really pressing into the presence of God on a regular basis in an intensified way, when you get back to your routine of life, you may feel like things are kind of off center, but you do not have to feel like you can't tap into that more regularly. That's why I encourage you to make fasting a way of life. I hope that this has helped you to see the value of fasting, because remember, Jesus said, when you fast, not if. The expectation is that those who follow the Lord will have fasting as a part of their lifestyle. And in so doing, we are changed every time, more and more, being conformed to the image of Christ, and also enjoying a deeper and richer fellowship with God that also impacts us to be a greater influence in the world. Thanks for listening, and I'll be back. Remember, we've got more to talk about, because this is the intensified life I believe God has always desired all of us to experience. I'm Lakeisha B. with Intensified Life TV.